This is the Classic Auto Mall Show. Broadcast from the studios inside the Classic Auto Mall in Morgantown, Pennsylvania. Just 1 hour west of Philadelphia at Pennsylvania Turnpike exit 298. Featuring nearly 1,000 classic, vintage, and barn-find vehicles for sale under one climate-controlled roof. Now, here's your host, Classic Auto Mall president and the man with all the toys, Stewart Howden.
And welcome, show number 198.
198.
Yeah. Does that mean we're 2 away from 200?
That's exactly what it means.
We're getting there.
How about our YouTube?
How about that YouTube?
32,000, almost probably 33,000.
Probably by now. By lunchtime, it'll be 34. So
yeah.
get on board.
Yeah, because early entry gets you a little bit better.
Something. Just hit the bell to be notified for new. Actually, we post every day, so it really, just check out the channel.
Yeah, exactly what he said. So,
yep.
How many vehicles in inventory, JR? You go first this week.
907.
Oh,
wow! I'm going to have to recuse myself.
You saw
a little bit, but I'm going to go 799. Just throw it.
909. You win the prize.
All right.
907. He said.
Is it 907? It's 909.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
First time ever.
We're going back in the right direction again.
Wow.
We the rain just almost completely.
Congratulations to the disembodied voice.
Yes.
It's very airy out. Still plenty of room in there for more cars.
We have more room because at one time we had 1,200, which was too many.
Way too many.
It was way too many. So enough of that. Let's get to our wonderful guest. Joining us via Zoom, via Connecticut, David Porter. Good morning, David.
Good morning, Stuart. How are you?
We're doing fantastic this morning, and it's not raining, so we're really happy about that. We've had a lot.
Unfortunately, it is raining here. If anybody ever says to me again, it rains a lot in my home country of the UK, I will punch the lights out because it's rained every day here for the last 3 months, I think.
It's really been an unusual weather system we've had for whatever reason. It's always funny, too, as they talk about all the different things, but then they'll say that the high today, or the record high today, was in 1907 when it was 190 degrees. So we tend to get overly caught up in stuff like that for whatever reason. But we don't like the rain because rain is, like I said last week on the show, is like when you have suede shoes. If there's a 1% chance of rain, you're not taking the shoes out or the sports car.
Exactly. I mean, I have 13 cars, which is total insanity. I know you have 900 and something. Yeah. I have 13, which, believe me, I like to drive them all, but most of them do not go out in the rain. So yeah. I'm kind of short of driving time in the last couple of months, I must admit.
Yeah, and it's, because, listen, if you don't have to take them out, there's no sense in taking them out in the rain and having that extra cleanup to do and worried about stuff getting up underneath. And, and of course, if you're like me, you'll go to the car that you want to drive, and it's either A, got a dead battery, B, got, something's wrong with it, it won't go, and then you just say, to heck with it, I'll take whatever.
Or I find I have 3 lifts. It's always the car on the top of the lift that you want to drive every single time.
It's like these transporters. They show up, these 9-car haulers show up to haul a car, and the car that they're dropping off is the first one, and they got to take 9 off to get to one. I'm thinking, man, some kind of algorithm planning thing where you wouldn't do that would be kind of cool.
You would think.
But so you were born not in Connecticut, Berwick, I guess the proper way to say that, Berwick upon Tweed?
Berwick upon Tweed.
Of course, I screwed that up. Yeah. Berwick, you don't pronounce the W. And that's was it Scotland at one point and England at another point, or I don't understand that?
Not quite. No, I was actually born right on the border.
Right.
North of the River Tweed, which is kind of the traditional border between England and Scotland, but actually I was born in England.
Right.
Just to know more. So I am, I guess, by birth English. My father is half Scottish, half English. My mother is 100% Welsh. And
right.
If you can unravel all that and tell me what I am, then good luck.
Yeah. I think there's a website that'll do like ancestry.com or something. They'll tell you who you are. It's like when I had a friend of mine who was famous and went to a nursing home to visit some of the people in the nursing home. And he said, "Do you know who I am?" And she said, "No, I don't know who you are." She said, "But if you go down to that desk, they'll tell you who you are." That's kind of the case there. But, you got hooked on racing at an early age. I mean, it wasn't something that it kind of made an impression on you. Was Formula 3 the first thing that you saw as a race? Was that the first race car?
I believe so. We lived in a very small town in the north of England, and Americans don't realize this level of deprivation in the United Kingdom in the 50s, because I think the 50s in America were kind of a golden age.
Sure.
I mean, for me, an exotic car in those days was something like a Renault Dauphine.
Right.
And in fact, that was the car that a customer of my father's had. And he said, "Does your son like car racing?" And my father said, "Well, I don't know. He's never been." So off we went, the three of us, to Charterhall Raceway. And that day I saw my first race. This was in 1958, and I was 6 years old.
Wow.
To this day, I don't know what car I saw. I think it was a rear-engine Cooper Formula 3 car, but I've tried to find out. I've Googled till I'm blue in the face. It's hard to isolate which race I was at.
Sure.
So that day, I can remember thinking, that looks like real fun. I'd like to do that one day. That was the start of this nonsense.
People don't realize that there wasn't the outlets for information like there is today, that you just couldn't, you probably wasn't even a magazine that you could look at or even knew about to look at or even thought about looking at.
No, it was very hard. I mean, I was a huge sports car fan in the 60s, which I think is the golden age of endurance car racing. But I mean, the only coverage I got was from a magazine a week later, or a little bit on the radio. There was no TV coverage.
Right.
And somehow, through magazines, I mean, I was a slot racing fanatic as a kid. I slot raced a Chaparral 2F, which really wasn't a very practical car, because every time you crashed, the wing came off.
Did it have the suction downforce on it, on those slot cars?
No, it was a 2F, not a 2G.
Oh, God, that's right. Yeah, duh, stupid. Those cars were pretty impressive, though. And, if you weren't excited about racing when you saw those Chaparrals, that certainly would have been a reason to get excited. Yeah,
well, actually, I saw Chaparral for the first time at Pebble Beach a couple of years ago. I had the Peugeot on the lawn there for the 100th anniversary.
Wow.
They had 80 cars, fabulous display, including the 2F Chaparral. I just stood there and looked at the car for half an hour, I think.
Yeah, isn't it funny that most people would think, oh, he's a race car driver, he's jaded, he's seen everything, and that's not the case. To see that many Chaparrals and to see the ones that you kind of dreamt about back in the day, it just had to be amazing.
Yep, it really was.
So, but you got into banking before you got into racing, right?
Well, I had to pay for racing somehow.
I love the British Linen Bank, and they wouldn't hire college grads because they wouldn't do any of the grunt work. And I'm just wondering, what grunt work? Was it shoveling gold coins or?
Everything was done manually in those days. I mean, posting every entry had to be posted manually in a ledger. It was awful. It was boring as anything. But they found that by employing college grads that they left because they got so bored. But I was desperate to start work because I wanted to have money to buy cars and race cars. So I left school at 16, joined the bank. I was bored stiff, but I put up with it. And, one way or other, I was able to leverage my banking into a commodity trading career, which luckily was sufficient to pay for my racing hobby.
Right. Yeah, that's one of the things I think people don't realize is that we say this all the time, but racing costs the same today as it did back then, everything you got. It was expensive and it was always expensive. And I guess it's a good thing because everybody'd be doing it. And we're seeing more of that, I guess, with country club racetracks where guys are getting out there and actually able to exercise their cars, which they haven't had an outlet for that until recently. And I say recently in the past 10 or 15 years.
Yeah, I mean, these things are popping up all over the place. I'm a part owner of Lime Rock, and we've just built some car condos at Lime Rock overlooking West Bend there.
Right.
I think, they were all sold basically instantly, the condos.
Yeah, it
just seems like there's a huge demand for this type.
Sure. Well, I think that it seems so logical when you look back on it. Hindsight is 20/20. I mean, we had all these guys that had cars that would go 200 miles an hour, and there's not many places you can go 200 miles an hour legally or illegally. And then to have a track, and the tracks that they're building. I mean, they're building one in Tennessee in between Knoxville and Nashville. That's designed by the guy who does the F1 tracks, and I think the long track is 6.2 miles or something. It's crazy, but I understand the reasoning behind it. Seems to make sense now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, there's so many people have these cars, and really, I mean, in Connecticut, there's nowhere to drive these modern cars fast. I mean, I have a ZR1 Corvette, which I love, but I keep it in North Carolina because it's a total waste in Connecticut.
Sure, sure. The traffic seems to be bad every time I go to Connecticut. It always seems to be bad. It's always busy, no matter what time of day or night, or it doesn't matter. It's there's backed up traffic, and we are same for around here.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So the British linen bank, was it a little wrinkled at the end of the day? There's my linen fabrics.
Well, it was just it was a means to an end. I hated the work, to be honest, but I knew that banking was a career where you could make some money in the end, and that was the plan.
And you moved to the United States in the late 80s?
Yeah, I was working for Glencore, the commodity trading company, and then we reopened our office in the States. And I was told, go to the States for 2 years. Okay, I'll go to the States for 2 years. But of course, after 2 years, well, it's working out really well. Why don't you stay a bit longer, So here I am, a citizen of the United States, married to an American with 2 kids who sound completely and utterly American.
It's funny, you don't pick it up. You think that they would pick up a little bit of the language inflection being around it all the time, right?
Yeah.
Did and your first race car was a Formula Ford, right? That you got. I read that you got an insurance check, a nice check for a stolen Lotus Elan, and turned it into a race car.
I did. Well, I mean, insanity is defined as running 2 Lotus Elans, one a daily driver, one for fun. And of course, the daily driver plus 2 broke down. So I took my little Elan to the station that morning, parked it, and came back after work. And there was a big gap where it had been stolen. And it wasn't actually a great car, but it did have a huge pile of history.
Right.
And I had very flattering photos of it. So this nice man from the insurance company gave me a check for £1,200. This was on the Wednesday afternoon. Thursday morning, I got Autosport magazine, which I bought religiously every Thursday morning. And there it was, Royal AP16 Formula Ford with trailer, £900.
Oh, wow.
So
Perfect.
I bought a trailer off Dave Coyne, who was a very famous Formula Ford racer in those days. Hitched it up to my Golf GTI, went up to the north of England, picked up the car, and went to my first race at Mallory Park, where there were 125 entries in Formula Ford. They had 8 heats, 4 quarterfinals, semifinals, and a final. And I was 21st, and they put me in the pit lane, and they said to me, if there's a crash at turn 1, you can do the race. So I was sitting in the pit lane praying for a big shot at turn 1, and of course it didn't happen, so I didn't get to race in the final, but I was quite encouraged by that.
I would think that would be quite encouraging. And your first win was where, Brands Hatch?
Brands Hatch in 1984, yeah.
Wow. That must have been exciting to race on a course like that you'd probably seen and growing up and understood and never thought you'd actually be on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first time I went to a Formula One race was, I think, in probably 71 or 72, and I'd been to many Formula One races, including many at Brands Hatch. So you're right, and it was a big meeting. It was sponsored by Lucas, the Prince of Darkness. We were a support race for something or other. I can't remember what. There was a big crowd there that day, and I fought with Bob Berridge. I think I was the only person up to that point to beat him, because after that he beat everybody. Right,
yeah. Well, that's a nice little resume booster, whether it's all just up here, right? So, but did racing, were you all consumed by racing? I mean, every minute that you weren't working, were you thinking about or racing, or was that your whole life, basically?
I mean, I had 2 kids and a life, so I had to somehow juggle all 3, which resulted in, me being in the garage at 1 o'clock in the morning, prepping the car. I mean, I don't know how I did it, quite honestly. I couldn't do it today.
Yeah.
Trying to juggle life, work, and racing was very, very hard. And in fact, by 1994, I was completely burnt out by it, and I took a 10-year break from racing.
Sure. Was it hard to take a break from it?
Yeah. Honestly, I think I was I did a season of USAC Formula Ford 2000 in 1994, and we had some really good results. On my first oval race, I qualified 6th out of 55, and this was that was a very competitive series. But it was just, I couldn't do it. It was just, I was spending so much time and energy on the racing, and I had a life as well.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So, and of course, to have the means nowadays and the ability and also the venues with historic racing just makes it wonderful that we can still see these cars that we all watched growing up through the 50s, 60s, and 70s.
Yeah, I mean, I came back to historic racing in 2005. I bought a Formula Atlantic March 79B, and after that, I bought a Lotus 69 Formula Ford, an S2, an Indy Lights car, and that led to the Pescarolo and the Peugeot.
Right.
And all of these cars, we did well with and had fun with. I've loved racing in historic racing.
Sure. And it's way more competitive, I think, than people realize, too, sometimes. You guys are not just dinking around out there.
No, I mean, particularly with the prototypes.
Right.
I'm dicing, you have to have a pro driver with you. So I had Joe Barbosa or Richard Bradley driving with me a lot of the time. But in both the Classic 12 at Sebring and the Classic 24 at Daytona, I did win on my own against teams who were running a pro driver.
Really?
And that took some doing.
Yeah, I would imagine
those
so.
are the ones I'm really happy about.
Sure. And yeah, I mean, those cars are pretty amazing. And those prototype stuff, I mean, your Peugeot is like world famous in so many respects. It's just that 908 is just an amazing car. And to realize that a lot of people don't realize that it's a diesel.
Exactly. It was the only diesel race car racing in this country. And it was... It was not a simple car to run.
Sure.
I mean, my guys at GMT Racing, who are absolutely fabulous, basically came up with me through Formula Ford, Formula Atlantic, Indy Lights into these prototypes. And it's not easy to run one of these cars.
Sure.
But we only had one DNF with the Peugeot in 5 seasons of racing, and that was a $50 part that failed when we were in the lead by I don't know how much.
Right.
And it was so infuriating, but... actually, a funny little story. It was a rubber bladder, and Joe Barbosa, who's a keen cyclist, he actually went to a cycle shop and got the best puncture repair outfit he could find. And we put this on this rubber bladder, and it did last for 20 laps. The trouble is, when it failed, it controlled the high and low pressures in the gear change and the steering. So you lost steering, and losing steering at Daytona on the banking at 200 miles an hour is not something you ever want to do.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
We had to retire the car. This was in 2020.
You know, what's interesting about Peugeot is that obviously they don't even sell in America anymore. Mostly are known in the racing world for rally. Yet they were so hugely successful with this 908. I mean, it was, I read somewhere in one season or the first season, it won 20 of the 32 races it entered. Or not it, but the 908s that were all racing. I mean, 20.
The 908s raced from 2007 to 11. And their record in that period was much better than Audi's, other than one race, Le Mans.
Right.
Peugeot only run once in 2009, whereas Audi basically won every other year. But their record in, say, the Silverstone 6 hours, Zhuhai 6 hours, the Petit Le Mans was so much better than Audi's. And the Peugeot was always a fabulous car to drive. I mean, when you're driving a diesel, it ticks over at 2,000 RPM and you change gear at 4, you get a beep in your helmet. And each gear lasts. I mean, it's how fast can you pull the paddle shifter?
Wow. Yeah, it'd say 4,000 RPM. Wow. And most race cars are what, 7 or 8? Or I mean, not Formula One, but sports cars.
Yeah, I mean, I had it in the Pescarolo, I had a Judd V10, which revved to, about 9,000 RPM, and that's more normal.
Right.
The Peugeot, once you get above 4, there's nothing there. It's a diesel.
Right.
So you've got almost 880 foot-pounds of torque, and you drive it on the torque.
Yeah. Wow.
In a 1,900-pound car.
Right. I was going to say, and those cars are not small. They're not a Lotus, a little teeny Lotus. They're pretty large cars. Of course, lots of carbon fiber, I imagine, and lots of weight saving and all of that.
Yeah.
It's interesting that Peugeot didn't go on and beyond that, or do they? I mean, are they still racing today? I know they're still building 1 million cars a year.
Yeah, they're still racing in the World Endurance Championship, but they tried to be too ambitious. They built a car, the 9X8, without a rear wing.
Right.
And it didn't work. And they're trying to convert, they put a wing on it now, but they were at Le Mans, I don't know, they qualified 18th and 20th or something. For some reason, they just aren't competitive, which
Sure.
surprising considering they won at Le Mans back in the 90s with the 905 and they won in 2009 with the 908.
Right. So, I mean, and then, of course, now recently, Ferrari's, 3 in a row at Le Mans?
Amazing, really.
That's just, people don't realize how difficult that is. To happen, it just doesn't happen. I mean, you've got a lot of planning and lots of things that have to happen in a specific way in order for things like that to be 3 in a row.
So many things can go wrong with a race car.
Yeah. I mean, to watch these guys, to watch the Formula One guys and to watch those cars, basically they don't fail hardly anymore. And it's hard to believe that they don't. I mean, with all those movies, when a Formula One car used to rev, I don't know what they rev to now, but they were at one point in time 19,000 RPM or something. You think
more? I think at one point, one of the engines revved to like 21,000. Now I think they're only about 11. The downside is they sound like awful.
Yeah, it's not the same sound at all. I love the sound of them back when they were revving to 22,000 or 21 or whatever it was. It doesn't even seem physically possible for the up and down to happen that many times, but somehow they do. And to be as reliable as they are, is that shocking? I mean, that seems like they would break every couple of hours.
You would think, but they managed to make a run. I mean, the technology in Formula One is truly outstanding.
Sure.
And that's why the manufacturers are in it, because their best engineers and their best ideas and everything else come out of this cauldron of competitiveness.
Yeah, it's more not win on Sunday, buy on Monday, more win on Sunday, have technology to have a better car on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
I think that's the rationale.
Yeah, I think so too. And, interesting that and Peugeot was a saw manufacturer started in 1810. I guess technically the oldest car manufacturer in the world.
Not sure about that, but certainly one of the first. And I mean, their career in racing back, they raced they won Indianapolis 500, for instance.
Right.
I mean, who would know that? And
yeah.
They produced, I think they won Le Mans in the 30s as well, with a streamlined car. I mean, they have a very, very deep racing history.
Sure.
Even if you discount the rallying, where they were really dominant for a while.
Yeah, that rally, and talk about that kind of driving, seems to be as over the top as you could possibly get.
Yeah, well, one of the most terrifying experiences of my life was going on a rally special stage in a Ford Escort. All those trees were very nearby.
Those guys, and I can't imagine being a passenger or the navigator, whatever the case may be, and he doesn't even really look up. I guess it's like my wife when I drive. She just reads her Kindle and never looks up. She just tell me when we're there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, you must be a good driver. She's got confidence in you.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Thank you. Somebody please take this part of the segment and play it for my wife. So if you look at, I mean, talking about this 908, we could do a whole show on the 908 Peugeot. I mean, it is just an unbelievable car. I think at one time you said you could run out of adjectives describing the car, just the speed, the everything about it.
Yeah, I mean, it required tremendous intestinal fortitude to do a fast lap because it's got such massive downforce that it's really, you have to trust the car. I mean, my fastest lap at Watkins Glen was a 35.2 in this car.
Right.
I got out of the car after that lap thinking, I'm not so sure I want to do that again. Because you're so fast.
Right.
And I mean, at Daytona, although actually we were quicker in the Pescarolo at Daytona, but we were doing a speed which probably IMSA wouldn't like me to say on their air to turn one. And
right.
You break down from that speed to about 65, 70 in no time whatsoever. And you just hit that brake pedal as hard as you possibly can. You cannot lock the wheels. And then the secret is as the downforce come off, you have to balance the release of the brake to get the turn in right. But when you get it right, it's truly, I mean, your eyeballs feel like they're being pulled out of your head with the G-forces.
Yeah, it's almost that you cannot believe that the car can do what it's going to do. And I think you said at one point in time that the faster you go, the faster it'll go. I mean, the more you push it, the more it'll go faster.
It will. It'll just keep giving it to you. I don't know if I ever found out what it'll do if you really hit the limits, because the car is so benign. You just have to trust the car and the downforce all the time.
And of course, it's immortalized in Gran Turismo 7, right? So you've got that video game active. You do any sim?
The number of kids that come up to me in the paddock when I was racing the Peugeot, oh, that's my car. I mean, one young guy, he was probably 14 years old, he came and just stood at the car with his mouth open for about 20 minutes at Road Atlanta, and he was a shy kid.
Right.
And I said, come on in, come and have a look at the car. And he said, I can't believe this. This is my car from Gran Turismo.
It's so funny that a car like that has just become so popular, that subculture, if you will, of everything that goes on like that. It's do you do any sim stuff? Do you do any simulators? Have you done that? Do you like it? What's your thought on that?
I don't do it now because I'm an obsessive personality. And when I first bought the Pescarolo, I'd never raced at Daytona or Sebring. So I bought myself a sim rig with a fast computer. And I got to the stage I was spending about 8 hours a day in my basement doing this. And it actually was tremendous help. I mean, I arrived at both tracks never having driven a prototype. And it took me 3 or 4 laps to get up to speed, which I think without the sim, it would have been a steep and could have been a very expensive learning curve. So I'm a great fan of it. I just don't do it anymore because I don't want to spend all these hours in my basement.
That's the problem with anything. The things take to it's like being a wine connoisseur. I don't want to know everything there is to know about wine. I just want to know about the part that it tastes good and it's enjoyable. Same with a race car. You just want to know where you stop, where you go, how fast you turn, and where the bump is, right?
It is of tremendous value, I think. But, I've been racing now for 40 odd years, and I'm kind of at the stage, I'm where I am now. I'll never get faster.
Right.
In fact, I'm probably getting slower now as I'm 73 years old. But, what I try to concentrate on now is being the best driver I can rather than necessarily the absolute fastest.
Sure.
I have a Lotus Cortina race car. I love driving that car. It is such a fantastic, fun car. It's not particularly fast. At Lime Rock, it's perfectly suited to the track.
Sure.
And, it's kind of what I'm doing more of these days.
Right. Yeah. A Mazda Miata is fun to race if you enjoy it. It's not that it's that fast. It's not that it's it's got a nice balance to it, and you can take it to its red line, whatever that may be.
Yeah, I drove the Cortina in the wet actually a few weeks ago at Lime Rock, and I got to that point where I could feel the car was right on the edge of adhesion, right. And that feeling is so good.
Yeah,
I drove the Peugeot once in the wet. It was the middle of the night, the 2 a.m. stint. In I think it was, I can't remember which year, but I was leading the race. And at 2 o'clock in the morning, there was a biblical thunderstorm happened at Daytona, and all of the electricity at the track went out. So they couldn't stop the race because they couldn't put the red lights on. Everything was in total darkness. And I'm out there leading the race with Eric Foss, a pro driver, right on my tail. And the two of us had to keep going for about 3 laps in this biblical rainstorm on slicks. Oh. That was the only time I drove the Peugeot in the wet. And it was not a fun experience, I can tell you.
I can't imagine. And you had to almost be at a position that you didn't really know what to do. Right? What do I do? Do I stop? Do I pull over? Do I what?
I wasn't going to give up the position in the race, I'll tell you. So, and Eric, he was faster than me, obviously, in the wet because he's a pro driver, but he got past me and the two of us went into turn 6. I went straight on and he spun.
Right.
So, but then, luckily, some brave soul went up on the gantry and started waving a red flag at us, and we did see it,
Thank
which
God.
was hard because even with the headlights, the rain was so heavy. It was a kind of scary experience.
Yeah. A special driver to drive in the wet conditions, right? You see a different outcome a lot of times in the wet. Drivers that may not always win.
Well, I used to be so good in the wet because I drove in England, and if you don't race in the wet, you don't race. Right. So I came here and I won the NARC runoffs in Formula Ford in 1989 by 71 seconds in a 12-lap race at Lime Rock. But now I really struggle to keep it up now because most people in historic racing in the States don't race in the rain. So what's the point of going out, on my own, risking the car?
Right.
And I'm out of practice. I bought a Lotus 15 to do a race at Goodwood, the Goodwood Revival 2 years ago. Everything went absolutely fine. The car was great. I loved driving it up until 15 minutes before the race, and it rained. I'd never driven the 15 in the rain. I'd never driven Goodwood in the rain. And I think I finished 22nd or something, which was really dismal. But racing in the rain is something you have to do it regularly, otherwise you lose the ability.
Sure. It's certainly a different skill set. Well, and with the 908, what about parts? I mean, how do you get parts for a car that's so rare? There's just not many of them.
No, well, Bob Berridge bought from Peugeot Sport the entire inventory of 908s and parts.
Okay.
Well, I think he bought all the 90X parts, but he also had a whole warehouse full of parts for the Peugeots, and we didn't have a problem with getting parts in general. Some parts like drive shafts we didn't get any, and we had to have them made.
Sure.
I mean, there's such a deep resource of people who can make almost anything for a race car.
Sure.
Just it gets very expensive when you have to make a custom set of 2 drive nuts.
Yeah, I mean, you're hoping that somebody would call up and say, we need 8 or 10, and then you could all of a sudden have an order, right? It's well, and the fuel too. The fuel was no longer made for that car, right?
And a big shout out to ETS Fuels, who actually I worked with, and they made me a batch of the fuel. We had a patent issue because Shell LM24 was the Le Mans fuel for the cars back in the day. And we got the specs of that, and it went to the ETS legal department for quite a while, actually. And they came back and said, well, if you change this, this, and this, we can get around the patent issue. And they made me a batch of fuel. We shifted over to the United States and ran the car on that fuel. And it was that problem was solved, and we made enough to last me the entire time I raced the car.
Wow! Isn't that amazing, though? That scientists in it that can just come up with that kind of thing and not trample on the patent, so to speak.
Yeah, and it was a fun project to work on. The guys were really supportive over at ETS.
Sure. And you were talking about the G-forces in driving this 908 was just, most people wouldn't make it 2 laps, right?
I mean, I used to do 300. I had an old helmet with a 12-pound weight taped to the side of it, and I would go like this 350 times every day of my life. And I had to do that.
Oh, my God.
If you don't, I mean, most people, driving the Peugeot, just getting in and driving it was not so much of a problem. But if a normal mortal, got in the car and drove it, 2 or 3 laps later, you would have to come in because your neck would just give out. I mean, it was well over 4 Gs on braking and 2.5 on side loads.
Wow. So, are you following Formula One much and seeing what's going on in there? And it's amazing. And that Kimi Antonelli with Mercedes is just.
I've been a Formula One fan since, the 60s. And
sure.
I think this year's crop of rookies, I think Antonelli is superb. I think Hadjar is great.
Yeah.
Behrman is very good. The car's not so good as they thought it would be.
Sure.
Unfortunately, my driver of choice is Lando, and I think Lando's just too much of a human being, whereas Piastri is a total machine.
He's a robot. He is absolutely a robot and just never wavers. And poor Lando, it's like being Phil Mickelson when Tiger was popular. It's like the wrong time to be in that sport right there. And Lando is an amazing guy, and what he did last Sunday was awful. I mean, he knew it immediately. He fessed up and said, "I'm sorry, I was wrong. That was terrible. I shouldn't have done it. What was I thinking?"
I know. I mean, over 1 lap, he's probably the quickest driver, or maybe the quickest driver on the grid, I think, up there with Verstappen. But unfortunately, he's not a very good racer.
Right.
He makes too many mistakes.
Well, Leclerc was like that. He could qualify well, but then he just couldn't. He couldn't maintain. And then
same thing, very, very fast, but again, too many mistakes. But Ferrari are just a shambles. I mean, I have a Ferrari F12, which I love, and I don't really support Ferrari. I'm a McLaren guy, but to see, I just don't know what they're doing. They just don't seem to be able to get
right
enough to the top. They're close, not close enough.
And they have all of the ingredients to get to the top, right? I mean, it's not as if they're, missing some element or key element to do this. Yeah. And it's interesting to hear Lewis and even Leclerc on the radio. I mean, it's getting a little snarky, to say the least.
Yeah. I think so, yeah. I think Fred's got a big job there, keeping the two of them under control.
Yeah, to keep those guys happy and they're young and, doing the things that kids do. So you mentioned you've got a F12. What else is in the garage at home?
Oh, I have 13 cars. You want the whole list? Let me just tell you quickly about one very special one.
Yes.
When I moved to London with the Bank of Scotland, which British Linen Bank became, in 1973, I was living in an apartment in London, and I saw a Lotus Elan, and I thought, I'm going to buy one of those. So I did. I bought a Lotus Elan. The insurance on the car, living in central London without a garage, was about the value of the car. It was total insanity.
Right.
And I kept the car for a year, and then I was forced to sell it. Well, fast forward 47 years, I got a call from somebody in UK to say, was your old Lotus Elan YEG 300J? I said, yeah, that's my car. He said, it's on my auction site for auction.
Wow.
So I bought it back in 2021. Unfortunately, it was a wreck. I mean, I had to do a complete ground-up restoration on the car, but now it is in my garage, restored to exactly the way I had it back in 1971.
Oh, that's fantastic. That is so great. And do you still have that beautiful XK150, the blue one?
I do. It's had a fantastic show career. It's mainly retired now, although I might take it somewhere this year. But it's such a fun car to drive.
And beautiful lines. That's just such, and that dark blue is such an elegant color on a sports car. It really makes the difference.
It does. Yeah, I love that car. To keep had it for 12 years now.
So what's your daily driver? What's the one you get into every day and go bopping around?
Both my wife and I have Mini Coopers. I have the JCW and she has a Countryman, and we love those things. I don't like driving expensive cars every day because you're worried where to park them, and you put the mileage on them, they depreciate like crazy. we love our Minis, we really do.
Yeah, they're fantastic cars. A couple of our people here have one, or at least one of our guys has one. Our producer Steve has a Mini Cooper and speaks highly of it. They're easy to park. No, nothing worse than going to the local grocery store in a pickup truck or a dually. You got to park on the North 40. You got to park a mile away, right?
Exactly. I see people at a local Starbucks here as a parking lot about the size of a postage stamp. And I see ladies in Suburbans and guys in Julies trying to fit in the parking spot.
It's just amazing that one person in a Suburban, it's 11, 12, whatever passengers, and one person driving around to go pick up their makeup or something, right? Pretty crazy. So anyway, so wonderful to hear about your career and the cars, and so glad that Judy Stropus was able to put us together. She's great at that. I guess we've
fabulous lady, Judy.
Isn't she amazing? She's just so nice to know, and it's so cool. If you sit at Judy's table wherever you happen to be, invariably somebody like, there's David Hobbs. He's going to come join us, and Brian Redmond's right here. And by the way, do you mind if we sit here? It's like, oh gosh, it's crazy.
There's nobody in racing she doesn't know.
She absolutely does not. So, David, we really appreciate it. We hope to see you up at Lime Rock one of these days. We want to come up. I've never been to a race there, so I'm close enough. I need to. So,
please do. We'd love to have you there.
Thanks again, David Porter. Everybody, thanks for being on the show, David.
Whether you want to buy or sell a classic, collectible, or special interest vehicle, you need to visit the Classic Auto Mall website for more information. If you're looking to buy, you can easily search our inventory of more than 1,000 vehicles on the web at classicautomall.com.
And we're back with the Piano Lounge with Stewart Howden, your host. Welcome back to the Classic Auto Mall show.
We got to calm you down after that exciting guest.
He was great, man. God, that Peugeot sounds like so crazy to drive. Just keep pushing it, and the harder you push it, the faster it goes.
Or is it Peugeot?
It's Peugeot.
Oh, you have to say it with a little French accent.
Merci.
Peugeot.
I don't know what it is, but it's around and been around forever. And
I was told Peugeot rhymes with Gloucet.
Gloucet, there you go. How about the fact that the last time they sold cars in the United States was like 1980-something, and they sold 3.
Yeah, and they're all over. Like I like to watch the Tour de France,
right?
And you see them as the chase cars for the bike teams and stuff. It's pretty amazing.
And you like to say France. I do. So great guest, a great, what they call an amateur race car driver, but I think he's anything but an amateur race car driver. He's the real deal. Mm-hmm. And apparently wins just about everything he runs in.
Is that right?
And it's, the car has something to do with it, but they don't drive themselves.
I can't believe he had to work out his neck to get ready to
like
race.
A 15-pound weight over there. It's
pretty cool.
It's like, golly, that wouldn't feel too good. Mm-hmm. So, where did we sell cars this week, Steve?
Where?
How about Downingtown, Pennsylvania, Wantagh, New York, Jurupa Valley, California, Palm City, Florida, Stockbridge, Massachusetts, Kerrville, Texas, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, ×3, another Cardinia, Australia, Forest Hills, New York, Deer Lodge, Montana, Albertus, Pennsylvania, Kennett Square, Pennsylvania, Burnville, Pennsylvania, Gouldsboro, Pennsylvania, Coral Springs, Florida, Honeybrook, Pennsylvania, Evans, Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia, Hockessin, New Jersey, Langhorne, Pennsylvania, Hamburg, Pennsylvania, Sayre, Sayre, State, Pennsylvania.
Sayre.
So anyway, 24.
Cool.
Yeah. Busy week.
Coming in and going out.
I thought it was Hockessin, Delaware. Maybe it is Hockessin, New Jersey.
I don't know. It's one of those things that if you know, just podcast at Classic Auto Mall.
Please do. We want to hear from you.
Yes. So I'm looking over my Carmel to Monterey guide that we were going to talk about in the next segment with Keith Martin.
Right.
And
nicely done.
Yeah, nice segue. Right? And it's amazing. This guide is great. It's got all the insider stuff to when you go to Monterey and Car Week out there in California.
Are we going to have adjoining rooms or be on a different floor or what?
And we open them up for the party room, right? So if you open both doors.
I'll sleep in your rental car.
Well, I'm getting a Peugeot 209. It's like, it's like I was watching, what was it? Frank Borman was this astronaut that went up in the shuttle, and they were 15 days orbiting, and they were in that capsule the whole 15 days, and they literally were like this, side by side, kind of tilted back at an angle. And
for those of you listening,
those of you listening, you have no idea what I'm doing. So I'm doing it's so cold.
It's so tight.
It was, they couldn't even hardly take their suits off, and it was hot and it was miserable. And for 15 days being in that little capsule with I don't know why I got off on this subject. I don't like it. So let's don't talk about it. How about we do talk about some new arrivals?
Ooh. Let's do it.
There's a new arrival back in the truck in the back of the truck room here. Did you see that?
I did not.
Got a new truck.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean
I just walked through there, so
in your parking spot?
In my parking
spot. All right.
Oh, well, the white one.
The white one, yes. Very observant.
Went white?
Yeah, it went white.
Okay.
Yeah, I had black.
I'm gonna check it out.
Denali in a 2021.
All right.
And now with the 6.2.
The dust won't show on this one.
It will not. It doesn't show dirt very much, and it's white. It's the same 6.2 as a 2025.
Nice.
And it's a beautiful truck, and it's got active exhaust.
Oh, so it's like a cutoff switch?
Yeah.
Do the running boards come out?
No. And they did on the black one.
How does Kathy deal with that?
She doesn't like it. She misses the running boards. That's the one thing she said. And they're like, okay, you can have the running boards, but you have to go to the 5.3 liter engine. I'm like, I mean, not that you can't get it with a 6.2. It's just the only one that they had.
Well,
with
there's
the
aftermarket
5.3
stuff,
I don't know. To put the retractable running boards, what is that going to be? About a $5,000 bill if you added it?
Well, I'm going to the swap meet at Trucks Nationals at Carlisle, so I might be able to pick you up a rusty pair.
And they're a manual crank. Yeah. Crank them out.
They're just out all the time.
Well, that's the problem. The ones that are on this one now are out all the time, but they can't. They're not as wide because apparently there's, I'm sure, a law that says they can only go out so far if you're going down the road. Mm-hmm. So,
well, Kathy's petite, but you get a guy like you trying to step on it, bigger foot, it's like, not good.
Kathy's Mercedes is like that. That little running, and it's just the wrong height. It's just a little too tall to just climb in, but it's a little too short to stand on the right. And then the running board is narrow, and so and if it's a little wet, I mean,
these sound like rich people problems.
Sorry,
the first world problems.
Sorry,
my running board is just a little
too tiny, and I don't like it, and it's just very annoying. So anyway, it's a great truck, and my old one I traded in. It was a 2021. Had 22,000 miles on it. It was the lowest mileage one they've ever seen.
Yeah,
they're going to double the price on the lot.
Hey, I did pretty well on this.
Okay, good.
Surprisingly,
That's good.
Did well, and feels good. Nothing worse than buying a car and they have to tack on some of the leftover from the old car.
Oh yeah.
That's ugly. We're going to add another $10,000 to your loan because you still are so upside down on this.
Yeah.
Right.
They'll say, well, we'll pay off your loan, and then we'll add it to the
Yeah,
cost
then
of
we
the
add
car.
it, and all of a sudden it becomes something.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, so, well, good for me.
What do we have new in the mall
Oh, how about
this?
affordable classic right here, 2006 Chrysler Crossfire convertible. That car is almost 19 years old.
That's amazing.
Wow.
It is.
Yep.
I was always impressed with the grooved hood.
Yeah, I like the grooved hood. I always liked the Crossfire. I thought it was a really cool car. You don't like the Crossfire, I see. I can tell by your...
people either love them or hate them, and they're polarizing.
Yeah, so you hate
But
them.
it's a Mercedes SLK on the inside.
So you hate them.
I'm not a fan of the design, but a lot of people like them, and the people who own them love them.
Right.
Period. I mean, they really love them.
Well, it's like having an ugly dog. You got to love it. You're stuck with it unless you get it something else.
But they're cool looking.
This is blaze red crystal pearl coat over dark slate gray, 25,000 actual miles. Great handling car. These things handle really, really well. Garage cab, 3.2 liter EFI V6 electric fuel injection, 6-speed manual, which is kind of cool. I don't think they were all manual, were they?
I'm working with this collection, and these collectors have one of these, and it's the last car they want to get rid of.
Sure, because it's
love it,
and probably the most drivable, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
This one's been really well cared for, though. How about the 1956 Volkswagen Beetle, black over oxblood? That's an interesting name for a color, isn't it? Oxblood.
Oxblood?
Yeah.
Dark red.
Yeah, black over oxblood is a popular color for that. 2196 cc flat 4, a freeway flyer 4-speed manual. I have no idea what that means. You know what that means?
No.
You wrote it.
I did not write it.
Desirable yearbug, 4-wheel disc brakes, and this is the kicker. Rockford Fosgate stereo.
Oh, wow.
I like that. Those things. I remember when that brand came out. That was like high end. That and Nakamichi.
These 50s Beetles are hot in the market.
They are really hot, and for some reason they've become. I don't know what changed. I mean, Beetles have always been popular, but it just seems like in the past couple of months, it's changed. Maybe it's the new electric one that's coming out, the bus.
Oh, yeah.
I saw one in Morgantown.
ID Buzz.
ID Buzz. I saw one yesterday, or Friday in Morgantown. The first one I'd seen in the wild.
Yeah.
And it was kind of cool.
My wife loves it.
Yeah, it's kind of cool looking.
It's cute.
Probably just passing through.
Yeah.
Shout out Volkswagen.
Yeah, shout out Volkswagen. How about the 1988 Lincoln Town Car Hessen Eisenhart limousine? Is it? It's funny. A limousine used to be like the ultimate status symbol. I mean, and you hardly see them anymore at all. There's vans and Sprinter vans and Escalades that are stretched and Suburbans, but you don't hardly see a traditional limousine. And of course, if you remember, getting into a limousine, unless you're the last person in sitting on the back row, is like crawling through a minefield. It's
not fun.
It's not easy to get into.
Especially for the ladies with their gowns and things.
and a cocktail.
Yeah. Getting out was
getting out.
Right, that era is over. It's mostly SUVs now. Yep.
But I think these limousines are going to become collectible, especially a Hessen Eisenhart. I mean, they were the ones I guess built the presidential limos also back in the day. But it's got 43,000 actual miles, very quality build, a reliable 5-liter V8, which I wonder if that is that enough power? I guess it is.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, a great business opportunity.
Did I write that?
I don't know. Are you writing any of this, or are you AI in it?
I always thought it'd be cool to pick up your kids from school. You know how parents now pick up their kids from school with the long lines? And
sure.
It'd be cool to have a limousine, have your kid get in the back of the limousine.
They'd probably beat the kid up.
Yeah. My parents would never have picked me up at school.
You say?
They're like, "What? No, we're not picking you. Walk home."
Well, it's changed.
Yeah.
It's all changed.
I
walk too.
Nice limo, nerd.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
How about the 1984 Toyota FJ45 Land Cruiser, spring green over tobacco, which is
Toyota for our Philadelphia listeners.
Freshly restored, 4.2 liter inline 6, 4-speed manual. Show or explore?
Yeah.
You got two options.
Beautiful,
You can do either
beautiful
one.
truck.
It really is a nicely done truck. And the 1951 MG TD Roadster, dark blue over blue, 74,000 actual miles, recently rebuilt 1250cc inline four-speed manual, endless possibilities, and a newer top. What do we mean when we say endless possibilities? It means it might need some work, right? It needs a few things to be done, and there's just, you can go in whatever direction. You can just drive it and enjoy it and not worry about it, and if it gets a ding or a scratch or something, it's not the end of the world. Or you can take it up to the next level, or you can go to the top level and make it a Concours quality restoration. It's
exactly
all up to you. How about, last but not least, the 1961 Chevrolet Corvette convertible, 350 cubic inch GM crate V8, interesting for a 61. Borg Warner T10 4-speed manual, 370 gears. This is a well-sorted, it's a great driver quality, 61 vet. I mean, the last year for this body style was 62, and then 63 they went into the Stingray, the C3, right?
C2. Right?
Yeah, I always get those confused for some reason. I don't know. I don't think I count the first floor. No, that was at the parking garage at the Philadelphia airport when we couldn't find our car, and it's 11:30 at night, and it was like having a heat stroke. It was so humid outside, and we looked and we looked and we looked, and Kathy was furious, and I was mad, and finally we called the parking garage company with the sign and said, please help us find our car. And guy pulled out in the pickup truck. He goes, all right, we're going to start down at level 1. I go, well, there is no level 1. He goes, I work here, there's a level 1. And of course there was a level 1, and I thought you came in on level 2. I didn't realize that there was actually a 1. It's kind of like the 13th floor on a whatever. And so there's our car, right?
On level 1?
On level 1.
Turn it up to 11.
So I felt kind of stupid.
I got a question here. Do we still have the 1996 Toyota Classic sedan?
We just sold that.
The right-hand drive?
Right-hand drive.
That was so cool. Really caught my eye. It was like only 20,000 miles, I think, and it just.
You're about a week too late.
Yeah, it sold about a week. It sold, I think, last Wednesday or Thursday. So
and that's like a Japanese from Japan.
Yeah,
right?
it was
one of 100. Actually.
Domestic market. Well, now you're a wealth of information.
Well, we talked about it on the show.
That's true, we did.
Yeah.
So it's a very cool car and very unusual, and certainly you would never see another one at a car show.
No,
if that's your thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I tell you another new inventory that we have. This is an unusual thing. So we have a 2023 Toyota GR Corolla Morizo edition, owned by a legendary IndyCar driver and sports car driver and all-around cool guy, Scott Pruett.
Wow.
And this car is not coming here. So it's going to be on our site, and it's going to be on all of our advertising, but it's still going to stay in Northern California. And if we get real serious with somebody, there would be an availability to go see it in person. They would have somebody show it to you, but
by appointment.
By appointment. And this is a really cool car, and we don't normally do that. But Scott's our buddy, and I thought it'd be cool to have this car in our stable,
for sure,
if you will.
Yeah.
It's got 775 original miles.
It's one of 200.
Yeah. 300 horsepower, 1.3 liter inline 3-cylinder, turbocharged.
Wow.
Weighs like 3,100 pounds. It's a pocket rocket. This thing is, when Scott found out about it, he said, I got to have that. And he went and bought one. I mean, they'd probably given him one if he'd asked, because he's the ambassador for Lexus and Toyota.
That's
and
right.
So
That's
they, but he went and ordered one from his local dealer in Northern California, bought it, and has enjoyed it for a 6-speed manual transmission. This thing is unbelievable.
We'll be on the website soon.
It will be on the website probably in the next couple of days.
Yeah.
I imagine you're writing that as we speak.
That's right.
And
Today.
And then don't forget also our promo going on with the Hollywood Casino across the street from us. Now until Saturday, July 26th. So if you're 2025, I guess I should say that, because people could be listening in the future.
That's right.
And they wouldn't know we was talking about 2025.
That's right. We're talking now.
So if you're the winner of this summer promo, you get a $40,000 voucher to come to Classic Auto Mall and pick the car of your dreams.
Wow.
Pretty cool.
How cool is that?
Very cool.
So I don't know all the parameters. Go to their website, look at all the, what you can and can't do. I'm sure there's, rules and things like that. But you can come over here and basically pick out a car up to $40,000. And I think if you want to get something more than 40, then you'd have to pay that yourself. But how cool is that? And we have 2 cars over in the lobby over there. We have a 81 Z28 and a 79 Jeep CJ Golden Eagle. And we're going to change those out next week. So if you go over to the casino, you're going to see something different. And we won't tell you what it is. We'll let it be a surprise.
And all you got to do is play slots?
You got to put your card in, playing slots or table games, and you get a point for every time the lime goes in the coconut. And I don't know. I don't know. See, I don't
read the fine print.
Read the fine print. It's there, but you get entries based on the more you play. And so that's a pretty cool thing. And then last but not least, don't forget that we've got the Classic Auto Mall auction coming up September 19th, 2025. All no reserve absolute. Army trucks, collector cars, stuff. There's a lot of stuff. There's some
cool stuff.
There's some older barn find stuff. There's some stuff that's literally, we're cleaning out the cupboards, as we like to say.
Work trucks,
and there's a street sweeper and a dump truck.
Got my eye on that.
Literally. Yep.
Steve was like, "Hey, what do you think about that street sweeper?" I'm like, "What are you going to use it? I want to clean the driveway." Well, that's not overkill.
Well, yeah, but he wanted to know if it'll plow snow. No, it's a street
sweeper, not a
light snow.
Dusting.
So we're cleaning up the closet. We have some stuff that's literally parts vehicles only. We have stuff that's literally scrapyard only, probably. So if you're a scrap buyer, you may get a couple of those that are in there. I mean, there's the whole variety of stuff. Some cool military stuff. That's most of the stuff does not have a title yet. We're working on it, but some will be without title, sold on a bill of sale only. If you don't know what that means, call us and ask.
And those will be online pictures?
They will be online on our website, on the auction tab on our website. You can bid online on Proxy Bid, which is a worldwide bidding platform, or you can bid in person on September the 19th. Starts at 11 o'clock. You can register to bid. You'll be able to go to our website at some point in time and download the bidder pack that will everything you got to fill out and we need from you in order to bid. And it's going to be a lot of fun. We'll serve a big breakfast buffet probably at 9 o'clock, and then start the auction at 11, and it won't last probably more than a couple of hours.
Right.
Cars are not going to be run across the block. They're going to be lined up all across the front of our building, and you have 12 minutes to get them out of here once you buy it. You have
rain or shine, I would assume.
Rain or shine.
Bring a trailer.
Bring a trailer, yeah, like our friends, and come check it out. And if you have something that you'd like to sell and put in the auction, again, we're only accepting cars that are absolute no reserve. What does that mean?
What? Whatever
the high bid is that guy owns it at whatever price. So and people go, "Oh my God! Well, what if it's $1?" It's not going to be $1.
Right.
People are going to be in the audience that know what things are worth, and they're not going to let it go for $1. It might go for less than what you think it's going to go for, but it will sell and it'll be sold that day, and it's absolute, and there is no give backs or takeaways or take backs or whatever you say. So join us in. And then last but not least, our friends with the Radnor Concours d'Elegance, which we're going to be promoting here coming up September 5th through the 7th.
Nice.
RadnorConcours.org. What an amazing event right here in our backyard. And we're, full disclosure, I'm on the board and we're a sponsor, but it's still an amazing event, and that's why we're on the board and we're a sponsor.
I'd go if we weren't a sponsor.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that event. It's
and great. The vintage features this year are station wagons, shooting brakes, and panel vans.
That's my vibe.
You've got to start riding Steve, because I want to do the road rally, and he's not committing yet.
You got to be up at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, Steve doesn't like that early morning.
I don't
stuff,
either,
so.
But man, that'd be cool.
When we return, we will begin our conversation with our good friend Keith Martin, publisher of Sports Car Market Magazine, and we'll talk about what's going on in his world. We'll catch you in a couple of minutes on the Classic Auto Mall Show.
The Classic Auto Mall has more than 1,000 vehicles for consignment in our huge 8-acre climate-controlled showroom. It's a real indoor mall. If you'd like to know all the advantages of buying and selling a car through consignment, the information is available on our website, or you can talk to a classic car specialist who can answer all your questions. It's easy, safe, convenient, and it doesn't matter where you are. We sell worldwide. See our huge selection of classic and collectible vehicles at classicautomall.com.
And we're back with the Classic Auto Mall Show from the Classic Auto Mall studio in Morgantown, Pennsylvania, show number 198. Joining us weekly, Mr. Keith Martin, publisher of Sports Car Market Magazine. You've been busy to the past few days, haven't you?
I have been on a busman's holiday.
Well, that sounds like a lot of fun.
Well, the Oregon region of the Northwest Porsche Club puts on 2 tours of the year, and it's 40 cars each time, and you travel about 1,500 miles in 5 days.
Wow, that's not nothing. That's covering a lot of real estate.
It's moving. It's moving. We started off at Mount Hood. We went from there to Leavenworth, Washington. From Leavenworth, Washington, we went to Sandpoint, Idaho. From Sandpoint, Idaho to Walla Walla. Walla Walla back to Hood River, and then back home.
Any inclement weather along the way?
Yeah, the sun was just bright. It's for we Oregonians, it's a little scary because we look up at the sky and we say, "What's that big yellow thing over there? What is that? Is that going to hurt us someday?"
Probably.
So we had a lot of blinding sun as we carved through the Montana canyons. It was really fun.
So sunglass sales in Oregon are quite slim. That's not where they base their quarterlies and yearly sales figures on, right?
Umbrellas.
Umbrellas, yes. Or brellies, as they call them, and wherever they call them.
Yeah.
So, so this was a Porsche meet, if you will, but they do it once a year, I take it.
Well, they do it twice a year. They have 40 slots, but the 40 slots were filling up so fast that they opened up a whole nother tour. They do one in the spring and one in the fall.
Oh, wow. Wow. And
they sell out in about 30 minutes.
Right. Well, it's something that, like anything anymore, if something's really popular and enjoyable, it's just with online, it can just sell out right away. You don't have to mail in a check or wait for any of that, clip a coupon out of the back of a magazine or anything like that.
It's also, the reason we own these cars, I mean, you're there because you still got a Lotus Europa you need to sell. I know that's your primary basis, and I'm going to keep trying to push that car every week.
I know you will.
To help you along.
Thank you.
But we own these cars so we can drive them, and you really want to drive them on a 2-lane road in some place that's fun. Driving from here to Salem, which is 45 miles away on the freeway, in your 50-year-old car with 3-ton pickups cruising by you and people texting is not my idea of fun.
I don't like to be on a highway or an interstate or a turnpike in a car that's older than the 1990s. Even it's not pleasant. You can't go fast enough comfortably, and people, like you said, are not paying attention and whizzing by and cutting you off, and they don't realize that the braking capability of a 55 Bel Air is not quite the same as a 2025 Escalade.
No, that's exactly right.
So these tours that you do, obviously, does it include hotels and lodging and meals and all that?
Yeah, it's there are different kinds of tours have sprung up. The ultimate all-inclusive is where it's like a cruise ship.
Right.
You show up, your meals are taken care of, your rooms are booked, the whole thing. Those can get real expensive.
Sure.
The California Mille is now $15,000.
Wow.
And that doesn't include shipping your car to California, you flying out. It's all luxe. It's all 5-star hotels, and it's. I'm not going to say it's not worth the money, but it's so that could end up being $20,000 to $25,000.
Right. Which is not everybody can afford, even if or wants to afford, for that matter. It might be just out of the reality realm for some people.
Well, with our tours, we ran 4 of them, and after COVID, the cost of hospitality, of lodging and meals, just skyrocketed, and our tour ended up costing us $400,000 to put on.
Wow. Well, I mean, when you see hotel rooms, you and I have talked about this. You go to Amelia Island, and the Ritz-Carlton down there is $1,500 a night. I mean, even if you get the group discount, it's still well north of $1,000 a night.
Well, what the Porsche Club does, which I find is interesting, you pay a fee, say $1,500 for your car, but then they give you a list of the hotels that we'll be staying at, and you call and you book your own room and you pay for it yourself.
Sure. That kind of makes more sense in some respects. I think more of on a budget-friendly tour, if you will.
Yeah, and it also relieves the responsibility of the organizers in terms of having a high-paid coordinator to book 40 rooms.
Yeah, I always thought the most interesting thing about Formula One is the fact that they've got to make that all come together, and rooms and meals and transportation and air for all these, however many 300 people that travel with them. It's frightening to know what the logistics of that have to be.
I would bet that the person who manages all of that gets paid a ton of money.
Yeah, I would. And has got the most stressful job on the planet because,
that's right.
You know, if you don't get Lewis's room just right, he's going to be pitching a fit. So,
well, I forget, what did the rock stars? There were some rock stars that needed jelly beans in their room. And
No. Well, the Van Halen used to, in their musical rider back in the day, said they want M&Ms in a bowl of M&Ms, but with no brown M&Ms in the bowl. And they only did that because they wanted to know whether somebody was paying attention, because that's the low end of importance. The high end of importance, if they're missing the rigging for the lighting and the sound that's hanging above their heads, and they knew if they missed the brown M&Ms that there's other things they could have missed, and you need to start looking deeper into it. It sounded like a prima donna thing, but it really wasn't at all.
But, you know, Stewart, where that comes back to cars, when you're taking in a consignment, when you walk around a car and you open up the hood and there's wrong hose clamps and wrong filters and things like that, that's the stuff you can see.
Right, exactly.
And that only makes you wonder what else wasn't done right when this car was put back together.
Yeah. Nothing worse than a shiny, pretty car, beautiful interior, fantastic wheels and tires, open the engine compartment and it looks like, you know, it's been in the desert. You know, it's just, it's people forget about that part of it. And like you said, you know, how many people never look under their hood? How many people never see their car on a lift all these years? One of the things that we, you know, balance back and forth is like, oh, we show all these pictures of the underneath, which is the way we do business and the way we want to do business. But there's guys that could own these cars and they'd never even see that view of it and it would never affect them. But, you know, you got to do the right thing in this business. It's hard enough to be successful in this business. Don't add on the factor that you're trying to, you know, pull the wool over people's eyes.
And Stuart, I bought a 2018 Elantra new, and the salesman was delivering it to me, and I said, "Well, how do you open the hood?" And he said, "Well, why would you want to do that?"
I mean, what do you're going to do what I did? I open the hood and I go, okay, that's a lot of plastic shiny things right there. And, oh, there's this. And it's not the same looking under the hood as it used to be.
Well, you know what really has changed things? There's two eras. One is when all the smog control, before they got a computerized ignitions, and before OBD2, the smog controls were just all these vacuum tubes laying everywhere under your hood.
Right.
Think of a Jeep Grand Wagoneer.
Oh, yeah. The 100-mile of vacuum tubes.
Right. And then OBD2 came in, and things really got better.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that people don't realize that the complexity of an engine nowadays. I mean, there's not much shade tree mechanic stuff going on. You're not really tweaking a new car much anymore. I mean, half the time you're not even sure where to put the jumper cables on to jumpstart it if you need to do that, you know.
Well, and also, if you let your battery go flat, you're toast.
Yeah, it's not good. And when they go really bad. And they go, nothing worse than a brand new battery and, you know, a year or two old and it's toasted, and especially those high-dollar Optimas and things like that are $300 and $400 for a battery. You don't want to replace those too terribly often.
Well, the other thing is you might have to reprogram your whole car.
Right. What was it? Was it you that said that the year got off the computer or something? Was that last week or a couple of weeks ago? We were talking about that. Somebody had a car and it didn't even know what year it was.
Oh, that my Lotus Elise,
yeah.
It ate its VIN. So when we went through the emissions testing, the VIN came up as all zeros. And the guy said, well, I'm sorry, sir, but your car doesn't exist.
I love that. Yeah, it does exist because it's right here.
I know.
So you're worn out from this long tour. Are you got any other tours in the plans, in the works coming up?
I actually do, but let me back up for a second. Let me, on a personal note, what I found most interesting on this tour, my son was on the tour with a friend of his, and then I was on the tour with a buddy of mine.
Right.
But I had more time to talk to my son one-on-one when we were, like, he was driving and I was in the passenger seat. And so he's not texting.
Right.
We're talking to each other. And somehow when you're talking in a car because you're not looking somebody in the face, it's easier to have a conversation because you're just talking.
Right. Yeah. You're not staring at each other trying to analyze whatever. You're just having a conversation, which is the best conversations you can have. It
was good. Well, and then each night there were four of us that had dinner together at the different restaurants. And I don't know when the last time I've sat with my son 5 nights in a row, just 4 of us, having a 2-hour dinner.
Yeah, and all brought together by the wonderful hobby that we made a business out of. How great is that?
That cars create adventures.
It absolutely does. Keith Martin, thank you so much, as always, for being on. Stay tuned, folks, to listen for a special offer from Sports Car Market Magazine. I got my Insider's Guide to Monterey. I'm mapping out my trip as we speak, and remember my first trip to Monterey, so we'll see how that goes.
All right, we'll see you next week.
Take care, Keith. Keith Martin, everybody. We'll catch you next week on the Classic Auto Mall Show. Thanks for listening.
Here's a special offer from Sports Car Market Magazine. Get a 6-month subscription for just $19.95 by going to sportscarmarket.com/test drive and the number 6. That's sportscarmarket.com/test drive 6. If you're a buyer, a seller, or just general classic car enthusiast, publisher Keith Martin says,
we've been around almost 40 years. It's the Wall Street Journal of the collector car world.
Activate your 6-month trial of Sports Car Market Magazine by going to sportscarmarket.com/test drive 6. Offers for a limited time. Be in the know with Sports Car Market.
The Classic Auto Mall Show with their host, Stewart Howden. Executive producer, Steve Sethier. Produced and engineered by yours truly, J.R. Russ. Video editor, Randy Lammy. Available on ClassicAutomall.com, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Music courtesy of the Pat Travers Band. For tour dates, contact, and stuff, visit PatTravers.com. Produced by Car Smarts Media. Copyright all rights reserved.